Left, right, out again. I'm going to do a movie review like I've talked about. I did Maverick, which excellent movie if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing because I think it's blowing records away. But it's an excellent movie in the realm of the movies that we've had. But anyway, I'm doing Terminal List today. Terminal List, Chris Pratt, Amazon. It was I guess you wouldn't call it a movie. It's a show. Everything seems to be going on series now, which I don't really like. I'm not a particular fan of that. I like movies, but when it comes to like this show, it was actually really well done. But you have to binge watch it almost. Or to me, I did because it's like, well, what's the next thing? But it was well done in a number of regards. It's been a while since I watched it. I should have done this review a lot earlier. But anyway, like I said, Chris Pratt, he plays a Navy SEAL. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it. But we'll go on. He's a commander of a SEAL team, and a number of them get in an ambush, and a number of them get killed. Then on the way back, there's one that supposedly commits suicide. There's some interesting things going on in with Chris Pratt in his head, like mentally. He has also a friend that used to be part of the teams he's now works for an intelligence agency, the CIA. But anyway, the premise of this movie is him, certain things just don't set right with him. With one, his team get set in that ambush. Excuse me. Having to call QRF, I guess it's Rangers. They came in, helped save him. Two, his friend, one of his friends committing suicide. That didn't set well with him, and he starts, starting to question things, especially when it comes to his own command and other people telling him, there's something going on with him, which in reality turns out there is. But as he goes on, he comes to this point where he figures out that his team, have been experimented on, even by people all the way up to the defense department chief or head, the secretary of defense, by her authorization. And while it was with the best intentions, there was a lot of ramifications to it. And the reason I thought I'm just bringing up that point, because there's other things that are really interesting about the show, about the realism. And I know they'd spent a lot of time training Chris Pratt on certain things, had a lot of good people that were giving him, they were involved in the show itself. So there's a lot of military things that I can point out, and some that I can't remember because it's been a little while since I've seen it, but very realistic, especially like planning processes, certain, just mannerisms, certain feelings about being part of something, a group, a lead group. But anyway, on this other point, that it was also very realistic in a sense that, because I've seen something like this myself. So apparently they were experimented on with some sort of drug or whatnot that's supposed to help with PTSD, and it had other side effects. And they're trying to wipe those side effects underneath the rug and basically push forth. And the company that was making him, who was ran by some kind of wannabe character, he kind of admires the especially the SEALs and other special forces, but he never served. He's trying to push this to make money. He's got all kinds of security forces. He tries to train himself, Anyway, you get a good scene of that, him setting up his own shoot house where they're going through. But anyway, what I meant by realistic is when I was in boot camp, I remember this thing happened. I remember there was some kind of pill that they had that wasn't approved, and they were volunteering people, voluntold essentially, to take this as some kind of experiment. And I remember it because I remember standing online and they were going through it, or they're talking about it. The drill instructor's like, well, this is supposed to improve your hearing or some BS or whatnot. And, do I have documentation to prove this stuff? No, I don't. I was there. I heard it. I'm sure there's other people that might have similar stories. But anyway, so there was a number. I wasn't one. I don't believe. It's been such a long time. I don't think I ever took that pill. But there was a number of other guys that did take that pill, and they were, like I said, voluntold to take this pill that was not approved. They were told about it. They did their due diligence in saying, hey, this is not approved, this is an experimental thing, but you are going to take it, essentially. And back then, I don't know how boot camp is now, it's like you were deathly afraid of what was going to happen, get kicked, or you thought your life was over, they owned you. So there's a lot of intimidation. So there's people that took these pills and who knows what kind of side effects or whatnot. Just like the same thing with vaccines. When you're in there and you're getting vaccinated, you don't even question it. You're sitting there and you're going to get the vaccines, whatever it is in boot camp. It doesn't matter if you're from what religious sect. You just get in line and you were getting jabbed. I mean, you don't even know. I just looked at my health record the other day, and because I was uploading it for something else, and I didn't even realize I had 6 hepatitis B shots within the shortest amount of time you could possibly imagine. Almost there's a couple within a few months. I thought there was supposed to be some kind of waiting period on that one a little bit, but there's a lot. I have more hepatitis B shots than I could imagine. And I think it's because at certain points in the military, they're just bam, stick you. It doesn't even matter what's on your record. They're just throwing shots at your way. Point being is that this movie kind of encapsulates some of those issues, or at least when I was in, I was I really related to that a little bit. That is well, yeah, they, man, I don't know. These chain of command, sometimes they don't have any awareness of any kind of medical, really, and they're just told to do something, and they just do it, and they push it down on their guys, and it might not even make sense, but they just do it, and it's stupid. But anyway, happens. So anyway, turns out it's causing tumors in the guys, and so Chris Pratt has a tumor, and he starts going on a rampage. But what was really cool about it, some of it was the planning, some of it, maybe is a little unrealistic, but a lot of the planning process, how he's getting up to the head people that were in charge or came up with the scheme and set his guys on a course of getting ambushed and basically killing them in a sense. And then trying to placate him or set him up as the fall guy in a sense. So his planning process, his methodology or whatnot was actually pretty good. And then they brought in some other elements of, the FBI going after him. They brought in, like I said, the Department of Defense, the Secretary of Defense, and that they brought in the elements of some of the bureaucratic political nature of the chain of command. Once you get up to a certain level, and the officers, pretty much they were saying in the SEAL teams in this case, these guys are kind of detached from from the guys on the ground. The captain, or I guess in the Navy it'd be captain's a little different. I guess he'd be like a lieutenant commander or whatever, or in the Marine Corps that's how it related. A captain, an 03 and below. Those guys that are out there operating, those guys that are out there getting things done. And once you get up to, you're getting the full birds and whatnot, you're more of a political character. So he showed that disparity a little bit in that show of how that can happen. Now, should it happen? No. And a lot of guys, good leadership, it doesn't happen like that. Those colonels are out there doing things, and I've seen it myself. The lieutenant colonels shoot a general, out there PTing or getting things done or being out there with the guys. There's a lot of those. There are good guys, but I mean, you can see how that happens, and there's a lot of it in the military where you have that disparity. So, operational, the way Chris Pratt handled himself on film was beautiful. Is a very good portrayal of a service member, and then obviously his some of the things he was doing were very in line with what training would. Now, some of it might have been unrealistic. Is he really going to be able to smoke a bunch of these dudes at once? Maybe, but like I said, the enemy always has a vote. So there's a lot of things that might be on the board, but it's just like Maverick. It's a pro-American movie. You have a very like a quintessential protagonist of warrior that is, on one sense, very honorable. Oh yeah, and I don't want to bring this up too much, but they also crossed the line was when they went after him and they killed his family, his daughter and his wife, who he's also very close with. Obviously, there's World, and that sets him off. But what I was getting at is he's this guy that has a sense of honor and duty, not only to himself but to the people around him. And then he also has this other part of himself that's, hanging around his daughter and his wife, a very very humble and perceptive person, and he does little things with his daughter, and he does it. So you get that sense of a well-rounded. It was a good character building. You get that sense of that gentleman, and then this befalls him in a sense. His best friends are taken away. His brothers are taken away. Then his wife and kid, and all he has left is some of these contacts that he has in his, or he doesn't have anything left. Essentially, he comes to the point where, in his own mind, he's almost already dead. And if you understand that kind of loss, then you can see where he's at, so you can kind of relate to that. Where it doesn't matter if he dies or lives. He is dead in his mind, and now it's just about justice and paying back those people for taking away, his daughter's future, his wife's future, his family's, his friend's future, his brother's future. Brothers as in his SEAL team members that he's in charge of, that he is responsible for. They never got the opportunity to live, and you get that, you feel that from Chris Pratt's acting, and it was really, really good. I know I'm missing other parts to this movie or this series, but it's one of those series that you got to go watch yourself. Don't listen to what people are saying, and really go in with an open mind. It is great as a breath of fresh air, and I'd put it on par. In fact, if I for more of the real, I mean, granted, there is a little bit of shoot 'em up stuff, but like the Maverick, in that sense, it's pro-American. There are some things that might be semi-unrealistic, but they did a very good job of making it as realistic as you would in a movie in order to keep people entertained. I'll put it that way. So it is a shoot 'em up type movie, but there's a lot of relatableness to this character. So, where the Maverick one is more of that 80s, montage type thing, and shoot 'em up American with some realism to it because of the way they did the cockpit scenarios. Terminal List has got a lot of more of the good character development, more of the realism and emotion and self, and then some of the bad things is basically he uncovers this conspiracy theory about what's going on with this pill and how they were essentially, what happened is he was supposed to die. He was supposed to be part of a massive cover-up because of these tumors that were being developed they were developing in their head from this medication. And I know that's a long way about it. I finally just gave up that little bit of plot line, but I guess it goes along with the lines of the story develops and then also that character develops. So it is worth seeing. It is one of the top movies that have come out in recent years. I call it a movie. It's a series on Amazon Prime. But yeah, definitely worth the watch. It is, however, a series, like I said, so it's a lot of time. You got to you almost binge watch it, over a weekend or something. Whereas like Maverick, a couple hours in a movie theater, pretty awesome. So, but what that series does, because like I said, I don't like series, I like movies. But what the series does is it in hour increments, it allows for that great character development. A lot of these series suck. I don't like Marvel series, I like it in a movie. I don't like Star Wars series, I like it in a movie. But this one, I'm making the exception, or I actually like it as a series because it started, when the story developed, there was almost like you saw it revealed itself with the character. Plus you saw the character development. You got a good sense of him where maybe a 2-hour movie might not have done him justice. And also the conspiracy that he's unraveling might not have been done justice through just a 2-hour movie. Whereas the series, you kind of came along with him in that, in the journey, because you almost seem like, okay, well, there he goes, he did it. But then some other little clue in that, in the web. And the funny thing is, in the beginning, you go through the process of him discovering this, because he goes through what most of us will, and not assume that there's any higher level conspiracy, that it's actually this one character we've been told is an enemy, that is the perpetrator of this act, and then he has to come to the realization that maybe that isn't the bad guy that we're after in this case. But anyway, go check it out. Chris Pratt, Terminal List, great movie.